The globe's greatest goals require the globe's largest leaders. Please welcome everyone to Real Leaders for the Global Goals. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Along with me today, we have Mark Sandovnick,
yes, the
Chief Human Element Officer at Fifth Element. Mark, thanks for being with us today.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a mouthful. It is a mouthful. But we're getting there, and I'm hungry too. I'm hungry. It's been a long day, Mark.
Yeah. Well, you'll make it. You'll make it through.
We'll make it. Well, I'm happy you're here. Now, Chief Human Element Officer is what exactly, and how did your experiences lead to a title like this?
Well, you know, sometimes I get confused that like it's the Chief HR Officer for the company, which is not bad. I've worked with a lot of HR officers, but in this case, it's totally different. The Fifth Element Group, to just give you a sense, is an impact consulting firm, and we align brands with social impact, and we also have a whole human element practice, which is really critical. And where that came from was the Fifth Industrial Revolution is really about humanity, you know, overseeing, controlling, directing AI and blockchain, not technology overseeing us. And a lot of the experiences that I've had in my lifetime, literally from even coaching kids in sports and having great coaches myself, teaching me how to prepare, how to be human on a team, how to work with other people, and other things like talking to leaders around the world that I saw, because I was involved with a global leadership development organization. I saw how there were some leaders that were fantastic, how they cared for people, how they made sure they made people around them better, just like a sports team. And then I saw other leaders who were all about themselves, that weren't real leaders, no pun intended, real leaders. And so after all my experiences in executive search and all that, got together with some other folks who are seasoned executives from corporations, and Fifth Element was actually formed to combine the human element with the technology, with the branding, so that we're working with organizations as a whole body, like the knee bone's connected to the shin bone. What you do in branding impacts your talent. How you recruit people impacts your brand, bringing strategic partnerships together. So the human element is critical in this day of technology. It's critical to the success of not only your business, but your community, which then becomes, you know, healthcare and everything else ties into that. So I don't know if that's too long an answer, but that's where human element comes in.
I've been tossing around something, you know, in my head, in that empty space up there. And it's about technology and, like you said, that the fifth paradigm, the fifth paradigm, industrial evolution. Right. There we go. There's the words. And that is, we're more connected now than ever, but we're also more disconnected now than ever. How do you see technologies playing a role in human advancement and human care?
Well, it's a great question, because it comes up a lot. Like, we're way more connected, but we're not.
Right.
And just like anything, technology, how you use it, there's going to be pros and cons. So using technology to connect great people around the world, whether it's for education purposes or whether it's for being able to connect with a C-level executive that you want to ask a question to, or get noticed for because you'd love to work at that company, is positive. But you still need the energy of looking eye to eye with somebody and feeling their energy. And you've heard of Maya Angelou, famous, you know, writer and everything. She had one of the most profound quotes I've ever heard, where she says, most people won't remember what you told them. Most people won't remember what you've done, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And to make someone feel, you've got to be with them. You've got to look at them in the eye, get their energy and whatnot. It's a brilliant thing that's not about technology. It's about the human element. The thing that's interesting on top of that is if they remember how you made them feel, well, guess what? Then they're going to remember what you told them, and they're going to remember what you've done, and you got a relationship there. So technology can be used in a multitude of great ways to connect me with somebody from Mozambique or wherever that maybe I never would have talked to them or learned from them. But at the end of the day, that human element, that connection, you know, face to face is really important. And actually, Brian Glazer, a famous producer of films and TV shows and whatnot, works with Ron Howard in LA a lot. He just wrote a book called Face to Face. I'm giving Brian a plug here, I think. Face to Face, and it talks about when he first met Eminem, the rapper. He said he never looked him in the eye. And Eminem decided he was just going to leave, and he said, don't leave, because they wanted to do this movie, 8 Mile. And he got him back in, and they looked at each other. For the first time, he looked at him, and they got it. They got who they were. And he was the first rapper Israel to win an Emmy. It made a difference in the community. It was a great movie, the whole bit. So there's lots of examples like that about how you really, the need to be with other people, and not to go on too long, but community and belonging is the #1 thing they found time and again that fulfills the soul, that helps you health-wise in your life. And if you don't have that connection live, I mean, there's a lot missing.
I want to expand on that. I'm going to transition. You just mentioned Eminem. I'm going to mention Akon. We got to interview Akon a couple months back.
Sweet.
And his whole thing, or at least the main point I tried to make was, I feel like I live in a bubble, and I feel like I don't have a lot of perspective from people in Senegal, which is where he's from. And that was a big point, because how do you connect someone at the top or someone in a different country to care about their supply chain, to care about the workers in a different work environment? How do you create and build that connection without having an face-to-face conversation?
Well, put it this way, with technology, it at least allows you to connect live with that person. I mean, that's a big difference than when you weren't able to do that at all.
Right.
And you can connect when you look at that person that way. You can't necessarily feel all the energy you'll feel when you meet them, but it's way better than not having that. And we trademarked this term, leaders who care about innovation, who care about diversity, who care about wellness of people and everything. And whether it's on a Zoom video or something, or another way, you can still tell if a person cares. And at some point, I guarantee you, because of that, they will meet in person, whether it's at a conference like this, Concordia, or another way. But people inherently want to care. People inherently want to do good. People inherently want to belong to something because it makes them feel great. So it's not necessarily that hard to do it if you give them the opportunity, to do it. If you give them the opportunity to share what they're feeling, share, what is going on with their business and who do they want to touch, anything like that. If you give them an opportunity, I give it 99.67% of the people really do want to care.
Mark, what were you like as a college grad? Say you're just out of college. Maybe what were you like as a kid? And kind of describe to our audience kind of what you've dealt with, what you experienced, and kind of how this has maybe shaped your perspective on how to deal with people and treat people.
As a kid?
As a kid. What were you like as a kid?
Well, first of all, as a kid, I was always into sports. From Montreal, loved hockey. Yeah. I think it's illegal not to like hockey if you're from Montreal.
Exactly.
And so I had some great coaches when I was a kid, and some influencers, and that taught us a lot about life versus just you got to skate faster and shoot the puck harder. And so that kind of formulated a thing in me that probably didn't even know it at the time, was that, it felt so good to be on a team. It felt so good to be doing things like that. And I got more and more involved in community. I even remember coaching kids' teams, and some people would say, well, you have a kid on the team, right? I said, no. And they would say, well, why are you coaching that team? There must be an agenda. You have a kid on the team, right? And I said, I just love it. And not to use a cliche, but I learned more from them maybe than they learned from me.
Absolutely.
It's a great exchange, which by the way, fast forward, if I may, younger people and more seasoned or older people, or what we call sometimes vintage people, it's happening now where, speak of Omni-Wins, where putting younger people and more experienced people together, the younger people are learning from them, the older people are learning from them. It's a great match. And I think I got that back then when I was coaching kids, and they were kind of coaching me at the same time. But then experiences like working in nonprofit, experiences as my grandfather, who came from Kiev, and as a kid we're walking, and he smiles and says hello to everybody. And I'm thinking, man, everybody loves you. I don't get it. What's up? And he just says, I'm just nice to them. I'm just kind to them. And it hits home. It hits home. And over the years, I kept hearing people say the word care. And it didn't click necessarily where that's going to lead to, but when you keep hearing, I wish somebody would care more, or maybe we should care more about our employees, or maybe we should care more about what's happening to the player's family on the team, that's impacting how he's or she's playing. So it's experiences like that that really made an impact for me. And there's another one, for example, like I coached some kids in hockey and baseball, and we got known as the UN hockey team because in Montreal it was French, English, Catholic, Jewish, Greek, Black. We had everybody on that team.
Right.
Not on purpose, it just came together. And there were so many situations where they taught us how to be, as almost that may sound, they taught us how to be with other people, with other teams, with each other on a team, that even if someone disagreed with someone else, we should have had non-conflict back then, actually.
You're right.
If somebody disagreed with someone else, they figured out a way to work it out. It wasn't like, you're a so-and-so, you're so-and-so, forget it, get out of here. It was like, all right, we got this problem, we're not scoring enough, or we're not doing this enough, or you said this, and what about that? They just worked it out. It wasn't like the end of the world. It's something my mom used to say, if that's the worst thing that happens to you today, you're doing okay. So, don't take yourself so seriously, work things out, et cetera, et cetera. So all those type of experiences that we may not know how they're affecting us as they go along, but they culminate and they move forward. And I think that's why, I'll give you another little story if I can. I was in Winnipeg, and I was offered a job with JC's International as a global leadership development organization. I got offered a job there as executive director, but I was also offered a job, senior marketing position with the Winnipeg Jets at the time. My dream job, Montreal kid, getting in with John Ferguson was the general manager. I loved him when he played hockey and everything. The only person that told me to take the other job in Miami was the guy that was offering me the sports job. Everyone else, including me, said it's a bad move, it's a non-profit, you're taking a pay cut, you're going to another city, all that. And he said to me, I'd love you to have this position, I know you would love it, but you're going to meet people from around the world at that other position. You'll make money later, probably, and you'll learn so much stuff. You can always come back to hockey and everything. And I found that amazing because he offered me the job to go there. So you start noticing people like that who do care, about you, and then you do the same.
And so what advice would you have for maybe your 20-year-old self, someone who
I'm talking to myself
is going to go get a job that might not be the most fulfilling, but might be pretty luring because of either the work environment or the sales pitch they gave you on day one. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? Well,
it's going to probably sound cliche, but and I tell my sons this because two of my sons one's an actor, one's music and everything. If it truly is your passion, then you're going to do great at it. Understand there's nothing guaranteed, but if you really love it, however your lifestyle will be based on what happens, then that'll be okay with it. But if that's truly your passion, again, not sound like it's a cliche, but life's too short to really hate what you're doing. I mean, we spend high percentage of our time at work, and it's going to impact your health, it's going to impact your well-being, it's going to impact your creativity, you're certainly going to be affected your happiness. I mean, it sounds so obvious, right? But certainly there's cases where, let's face it, people need to make money to pay the bills and they'll work at something, but at least your hobby or something should be your passion, and maybe it'll then turn into what you really want to have happen. Volunteer for nonprofit, do something cool, do something good, and you'll enjoy yourself, you'll make a difference. Money's important. Let's face it, we all have to live, and you like to be able to do great things, but you can balance it. And at the end of the day, money's not the only thing. But what's great about the era we're in right now is young people are getting that you can make money and do good at the same time. And that's a real leader who realizes that, okay, we need to make a social impact. And guess what? That's actually going to be good for our business, good for our employees, good for attracting people. And one thing I love about what we're doing now that I think is critical is leaders who care want to hire people, A players. They want to hire the best people. The best players, best people want to go work for leaders who care. So when they come home to their family and their kids and at the dinner table, and they're talking to the kids, instead of, oh man, my job was so hard today, they're saying, man, it's so great what we're doing at our company. Leaders really care about this and this, and we're doing this and this, and I love being engaged with that, and it makes me perform better. This is awesome. So their kids are saying, okay, that'd be great if I get a job or entrepreneur. It's great because both of them are great. I can make money, and I don't have to be just cutthroat. I can actually do something cool that helps people,
right.
and it's good. And so if we get down to that level of family, that we're making that impact, then that's big time.
And to bring this full circle, I think that's probably what's missing in today's day and age, and what's part of that fifth industrial revolution you mentioned earlier. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your time coming on today. You're just mentioning leadership, though. What would you say your definition of a real leader is?
I think a real leader is somebody who makes other people as best as they can be, and gives them the opportunity to be the best they can be, and is not only happy but is thrilled, because a real leader's legacy is people that have worked with or beside him or her achieve levels at that person's level or even higher. So for a quick example, Coach Pat Riley once said, my legacy is all the assistant coaches that have become head coaches and play against me.
Love that. Mark, well said. For Mark Sandovnick, I'm Kevin Edwards, telling you all always.
Thanks, man.
Keep it real. Nice, Mark. Appreciate your time.